Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. So excited for this video as we bring you our NFL Week 9 predictions and pick 'em, just like we do every single week here at Utility Sports Plus. So you guys know the drill. Hit the like button on the video if you do enjoy, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your picks and thoughts in the comment section down below. We love hearing who you guys are riding with this week. And let's jump into our records here at this point, Austin. And guys, all week long, Austin's been sitting there sweating, nervous, saying, "Oh my gosh, Sheldon's climbing. He's getting close." Yeah, that's right. I'm only 5 wins behind him, guys. So listen, this is the most pressure I put on Austin in like a 3-year stretch of pick'em. I know it's still a handful of games. There's really nothing to be concerned about, but Austin's sweating there a little bit. Austin, I know your pick'em championships mean as much to you as your consistent fantasy football championships. What do you feel so far at this point, with only a 5-game lead, as you would title it?
So the nice thing is we can hang our hat on the fact that in the last 3 weeks, if you had been riding with Sheldon's picks and tailing him, you would be a very rich man. So moving on here, I don't want to talk about the pick'em record because we
Yeah.
could see a seismic shift. So if you are actually betting for money, stick with Sheldon's picks this week. He knows football.
We got the San Francisco 49ers on bye this week. Listen, they've had a pretty good season up to this point, 5-3 record, but this bye probably comes at the best time for them. 3-game losing skid right now. The Detroit Lions at 6-2. They're on a bye. Definitely a good one for them. You're looking at the Denver Broncos, who, hey, they've been playing some better football. They're on a 2-game winning streak. And, well, Austin, do you know how many teams in the NFL right now are on a 4-game win streak? Only one. Do you know how many of them have a 5-game win streak? One, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. You guys know I've been riding with them this week, and this is why I'm not concerned for Austin. There's one game I'm not going to get right this week, picking the Jaguars. So they're on bye this week. Let's jump into some of those actual games, though, and see who we've got. Tennessee at Pittsburgh on Thursday night, and this is a game, coming in. I didn't even really know who I was going to end up picking in this one. I've landed on the Steelers, and this year, I just feel like I can't get the Steelers right. They're 4-3 this season. They've scored 113 points only. They have 147 points allowed. But Tennessee, I feel like a lot of people are going to put some of their eggs in that basket. They're going to start DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy. They're going to think Will Levis is the truth in the future. Yeah, let's slow that down. Mike Tomlin's going to win this football game. I trust in him. Steelers at home. That's where I'm putting my money this year. The offense hasn't been great, but I think that they get a gutsy win here on Thursday night. After Tennessee has all those vibes and emotions after this past win. Austin, what's your thoughts here on Tennessee pulling this one out?
I think Tennessee's offense has absolutely opened up with Will Levis at quarterback. Maybe this is a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, or it's just the fact of the matter that he is a much better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion, at this stage of his career. He's an exciting quarterback. He can push the ball down the field, and that's exactly how you can unlock a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know if Pittsburgh has an answer on that side of the ball for D-Hop, but at the end of the day, Tennessee is going to try to run the football effectively, and I think this changes the complexion of their outlook potentially on their season. Maybe this turns things around, or maybe this was just a quick flash in the pan.
NFL Week 9, there's a lot of things to watch for. Let's jump into the Sunday slate of games here. I just want to urge you guys to, again, subscribe because, first of all, the trade deadline's here. It's going to be a really important trade deadline. We'll talk about that a little bit in this video as we go. Of course, the deadline will be the day that this video actually comes out. And then also, there's a lot of games that are up in the air this week. There's going to be a lot of differing ones. Let's get into our first matchup on Sunday, and it's an early morning one in Germany here. Miami taking on Kansas City. No real home field advantage. Probably no Taylor Swift at this game either, which means Travis Kelce might not put up the kind of production we're accustomed to seeing. StatMuse has been doing a great job this year tracking the games and production from Kelce when Swift's in the building versus not. And, well, he definitely performs better when she's there. So I'm going with the Chiefs regardless here. The reason why, I think, obviously people are going to say, whoa, what kind of happened with them? The wheels kind of all fell off. The offense never really got going. I think that there's still going to be some moments for them against Miami where they're able to take advantage, especially up the middle of the field, across the seams, inside the numbers. I think is going to be big for them in this game. Jalen Ramsey obviously had a good return to form for Miami this past week. He'll be important for them. But I think the Chiefs, they're just not a team that consistently loses back-to-back weeks. I don't see that happening here. I have them winning in a pretty interesting environment. Austin, what you went with the Dolphins here? Kind of what's your rationale going into this game? You typically don't pick against the Chiefs very often.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I actually picked against the Chiefs in any capacity. So this is kind of a surprise for me, even making this move. But I look at Miami's offense being super explosive. I think Tyreek Hill is going to have a huge game in this one. Now, this being a neutral field for both teams, I think the Dolphins are a little more accustomed to playing overseas, therefore potentially giving them an advantage in this one. But I look at the matchups. I just love what Miami has to do offensively and how they match up. Now, Kansas City has the top 5 defense in terms of yards allowed this year. They're also a top 5 offense in terms of yards gained. So I think the culmination would make sense to take Kansas City, but to me, there's something special about what's going to happen this week for Miami. But knowing what I'm about to say, they're probably going to put up 13 points. So I don't know. I think I'm confidently riding with Miami.
Yeah, I think this is the poster boy game of the week, honestly, with how kind of tight these matchups are this week. Like, this is one where I think you and I both feel really, really confident in both of these teams. They're both 6-2 at the top of their divisions in the AFC currently. They're both great football teams. This game's going to be down to the wire. They're both really good, teams. They've got offensive talent, defensive talent across the board. It's going to be a good one. They're both well coached, and I think it's going to be probably one of the best matchups we see all season long, honestly. Jumping into our next game, we look at a game here between the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons. And let's pour one out right now for Minnesota, because this is a tough situation. They are on a 3-game win streak. They're finally starting to play their best football of the season amid all the rumors. No Justin Jefferson playing. They're still getting wins. Kirk Cousins was playing great football, and all of a sudden he goes down with an Achilles tear. Absolutely terrible. Austin, now listen, this video is coming out the day of the trade deadline, so the viewers might have the answer. Is there some type of quarterback move lined up for Minnesota? And how much of that kind of lack of understanding there on what's exactly going to happen right now impacts the quarterback spot here and how they play against Atlanta this week?
I think of whatever move is in place or about to happen, I don't think that changes my outcome of the selection here. Atlanta being at home, I have an odd amount of confidence in them, but I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be out of sort. Jaren Hall is likely going to be the starting quarterback regardless of if there is a move made, whether it's a signing or a trade. I just don't see a trade actually coming to fruition by deadline time. Maybe I'm wrong, but at the end of the day here, I feel like Jaren Hall is not ready for the spotlight. He's not ready to be a starter. We've seen a complete lack of awareness in the couple snaps that he had. Now, once again, I think we're being a little bit harsh, but in the snaps that me and you have both watched of Jaren Hall, we have not been impressed, whether that was preseason or, in the Green Bay game. Once again, he was put in a tough spot, was not expecting to play at all. But once again, Kirk Cousins having a near MVP level season in terms of statistics would really indicate that this team is going to struggle mightily without him. I don't have a ton of confidence in the Vikings this week. I think they're probably going to put up their worst offensive performance of the season.
Yeah, again, this is just really heartbreaking for Minnesota. I'm just going to throw a couple names out there just for viewers who might be interested in who they could go after. Austin, you and I have talked about this a bit off camera, so some of these names come from Austin as well. Guys like Carson Wentz out of free agency, who probably doesn't move the needle for a lot of people. Maybe a deal for Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. Those are a couple guys to maybe have on your radar. And then maybe just something around Kyler Murray, who's kind of starting to come back. There's a possibility he would play for Arizona this week, is what the rumor currently is. We'll have to see. But right now I just think Minnesota's in a tough spot, and there's really no good solution for them going forward. Jumping into our next game, we look at a matchup here between the Seattle Seahawks and the Baltimore Ravens. And while the Seahawks did just shake some things up today, the day we're recording this, they traded for Leonard Williams, gave up pretty significant draft compensation to do so. And that's a big reason why I'm picking them here. I love their defensive back unit. I think that they have a lot of defensive talent. And I thought, getting a player like Leonard Williams in the middle, someone who is a versatile defensive lineman, can play all across the D-line in a bunch of different spots for you, generate pressure from versatile areas of the field and against offensive linemen in different ways. I think he's going to bring a nice little boost to their pass rush and their run stopping ability. And I think because of that, Seattle's going to have a small upper hand here against Baltimore, who, listen, the Ravens are a really good football team as well. They're 6-2 this year. They've played about as well as anybody. The Seahawks, they're 5-2. This is another battle of good on good. I like the Seahawks here. Austin, you went with the Ravens. What's your rationale on it?
I think Baltimore has just looked really great, especially defensively this year. They've been swarming around the football, creating turnovers, and limiting the big plays. Those are the big combinations of having a really good regular season record. I think their offense is starting to put it together. Lamar Jackson has been very good this year. He's been methodical. He's been careful. And he has also created some big plays with his arm rather than his leg. So with that being said, I think Baltimore's on a really good trajectory here. they're a phenomenal football team. I did not give them enough credit in the offseason. So for you Ravens fans, I'm sorry, man. I mean, they look awesome so far this year, and I think they're going to get, a great opportunity to showcase that against a really good NFC West opponent.
Even at 6-2, there is some pressure here still on the Ravens as well in getting a win. They need this one because every single team right now in the AFC North is above 500. So there's, teams right on their heels, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, they're all in striking distance. So a win here would go a long way for the Ravens. Jumping into our next matchup, we see a game here between the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns. And this one, there's a lot up in the air right now about the quarterback playing this one. We know Josh Dobbs will not be the starter for Arizona. There's a possibility it's Clayton Tune. There's a possibility it's Kyler Murray, which that drastically changes things. I think the lack of knowing for Cleveland kind of going into this week and some of the, events, activities that they're going to do leading up to it in prepping for this game gives Arizona a big advantage. There's not a lot of film out on Clayton Tune. And who knows what Kyler Murray is going to look like? Who knows if Cleveland's going to be ready for Kyler Murray in the opportunity that he plays? Cardinals are 1-7. They're not a good football team, but I think that they have an upper hand here a little bit in game planning. I think that there's going to be a small advantage game there, and I think Arizona might be competitive enough to take them. This is my underdog pick of the week. I like it for them here. Although Cleveland's a tough place to play, the dog pound's been great this year. Austin, what's your thoughts on the Browns in this one?
Yeah, defensively, I think the Browns have too much to throw at this Arizona offense. I think you're going to get, if Kyler plays, probably a rustier form of Kyler, which could result in some turnovers. Clayton Tune, I do not have any amount of confidence in what would be his, sole start there. I'm not sure. And Cleveland's offense is kind of in shambles at this point. They're trying to figure out a true identity. They need to be able to run the football more effectively and especially throw the football. So offensively, I don't have confidence, but defensively, they've been actually still, once again, historically great despite last week. I think the Browns are an interesting case for one of the more underrated teams in the NFL that have some major flaws, but I still think they get the job done against Arizona.
Yeah, I remember the part of the video, guys, when Austin said to bet with Sheldon. This is not one of those moments where he would back that belief. The Cardinals have lost 5 straight games. We'll see what happens Sunday, but do not bet with glasses guy this week. Let's jump forward now into the next one. We look at a matchup here between the Los Angeles Rams and the Green Bay Packers. And Austin, how disappointing was the Packers' performance this past week against Minnesota? It just felt like their offense never really got moving. Their defense couldn't reliably get a stop, especially when they needed it. And they're on a 4-game losing streak right now. They started the year pretty well. They're now finding themselves at 2-5, basically in last in the NFC North. They're just a half game ahead of Chicago at this point. Have not been that good. The Rams, they've been pretty reliable this year, all things considered. They're 3-5, not great, but they've been a little bit more reliable than Green Bay. So what's your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, I think when you look at the Rams here, this is a position where this is a must-win game for them. Green Bay kind of knows exactly where they stand. Offensively, they have a ton of flaws. They aren't throwing the football effectively. Jordan Love has been very inconsistent. Now he makes some of those wild plays, but he's not able to consistently enough string together some drives for them to be able to win in the big moments. Now he's had some moments in fourth quarters where he's made some big throws that actually keep them in games, but to me, I got to see it for 4 quarters. We haven't seen a complete true game from him to this point. Green Bay's got a lot of big concerns, in my opinion. They've struggled all year, but also with the Rams, they got absolutely throttled by the Cowboys. That was not good. So once again, 2 teams coming off of terrible weeks last week that hope to right the wrongs.
Definitely an important week for both of these teams and franchises as we deepen into the season. Let's go into our next game. We see a matchup here between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Houston Texans. Austin, we have kind of landed on a little bit of solid ground, both of us here the last couple of games. We're both going with the Texans in this one. Break down what you think about this game. The Buccaneers, they've been a little up and down themselves this year, 3-4. The Texans find themselves at 3-4, which is good enough for currently second place in a very tight AFC South. For the teams behind the Jaguars, what's your thoughts really between these two franchises, where they're at, and why did the Houston Texans win?
Yeah, I think Houston, they're going to have a really good game from CJ Stroud, which was a little bit disappointing last week in the performance there. But at the end of the day, the Texans are going to have to put together a really solid game plan. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are actually going to present a tough challenge for them. They're going to have to stop them through the air, but they do have the secondary to do so. Houston is one of the harder teams to pick this year because we've seen two completely different teams on a week-to-week basis from them. Either we have a team that really shocks you, or we have a team that actually super disappoints you in that regard. To me, the Houston Texans are tough to pick, but at the end of the day, they're at home against another, middling team. So I just don't have a ton of confidence in the Buccaneers.
Yeah, it's kind of a tale of two Texans. We'll see which side of the bull we get this week from them. Let's jump into our next game as we see a matchup here between the Washington Commanders and the New England Patriots. The Patriots 2-6 this year. Austin, the Commanders currently sit at 3-5. And I think really a big advantage for New England this game is perhaps getting after Sam Howell, who has been sacked more than anybody this season. Obviously been a weak spot for Washington. But for me, I think the Commanders just have a lot of outside talent. Now, obviously, the Patriots have done a good job limiting that as well this year. But I think this is maybe a breakthrough game for some of that offensive talent. The Commanders, they've lost two, but they've put up a lot of points this year, 171 points. Their kind of weak spots being allowing teams to score a ton as well. But New England doesn't, really do that very much. They've only scored 118 points this year. I think maybe it's an example here where Washington's weaknesses aren't exploitable by the other team. So here I'm going with the Commanders in this one. I don't love it. Picking against New England in New England never feels great. But that's where I'm kind of settled on at this point, Austin. Why are you going with the Patriots at home here?
Yeah, probably my hardest game to pick this week, and for the same reasons that you had presented to us. I look at the New England Patriots as a team that has made some positive progression the last couple of weeks. I think they've wowed us in some ways. I'm actually impressed with, off the offensive output we've seen. Mac Jones has been much better. Kendrick Bourne's been a big reason why. Finding some consistency within this offense, finding a little bit of rhythm and flow. And to me, the Patriots have what it takes defensively to limit the guys on the perimeter for Washington. But credit to Washington last week, hanging with Philadelphia while the Commanders were at home. Now they have to go on the road and play in Foxborough, which historically speaking, the Patriots generally play well at. But once again, this is not a typical Patriots team.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to watch, of course. Two teams right now, both desperate to get a win. The Commanders could really, really use one. The Patriots, they just don't want to move to 2-7. It's a really bad look, and definitely not something you're accustomed to seeing Bill Belichick in November with a 2-7 record. Let's jump forward now as we get into our next one. It's the Bears heading into New Orleans, Austin. I went with the Bears in this one. And to be honest, my rationale is not very good. But I picked the Saints to win last week. I think the Saints are not a very good team. And I know the Bears aren't good, but I don't think the Saints are really capable of going on win streaks. I just don't think that they're that good of a team. The Bears, they've gotten no Justin Fields the last couple of weeks. I don't really care. I just, there's something about betting on New Orleans for me. If I do it a couple of weeks in a row, I just feel like I'm going to get games wrong. So I'm flipping the script from last week. Again, I know this isn't good rationale. This is why I tell you guys pick with Austin every week. He knows what he's doing. I don't. But go pick the Saints. Go pick the Saints. But I'm going with the Bears. I like the Bears. Let's go Bears. Let's get some Bears hype down in the comment section. Austin, what's your thoughts here on the Saints and why did they win this one?
I think when you look at New Orleans, they present a lot of interesting challenges defensively. They're top 5 defensive unit this year so far, and that's what's really kept them in games. Now, they've been competitive in a lot of the games. They've lost some close ones, specifically jumping back to that Jacksonville Thursday night game, which they definitely could have won that one. But I don't think that they're a great football team. I think they're a team that's going to hover around 500. I think that's exactly who they are. I struggle with the Bears. I just don't love what they have offensively. I don't think they move the football enough effectively on third down. Neither does New Orleans, but New Orleans just has a better defense in totality, which gives them the slight edge. Plus, they're playing at home. That's why I give the nod to the Saints.
Yeah, again, it's an interesting game. We'll see who ends up coming out on top this week. Let's jump into our next one. We see a matchup here, and this is another really fun one here. The Dallas Cowboys, who currently sit at 5-2, they head into Philadelphia in what is kind of your classic in-division rivalry game here. The Eagles at 7-1, two really great football teams. Of course, both of them have had some of their, concerns. Cowboys have had some more injuries, that kind of stuff. Eagles here feel really, really safe to me. Not only are they at home in a divisional game, but I do just flat out think that they are the better team. Of course, we're in the Super Bowl last year. They have the better record this season. And there's been moments where I would say, hey, the Eagles aren't even playing that good, and they'd still be winning games. And for me, that gives them just a little bit more margin of error in a game like this. Now, Dallas does have some really great strengths that they're going to be able to take advantage of, Austin. I know you went with the Eagles here. What are some key things you're watching for in this one?
I think the Eagles are going to be able to create some havoc on the perimeter. Looking at AJ Brown and how great he's been throughout the duration of the season, had a little bit of early struggles, but he's been an absolute monster ever since. Referring back to his catch last week, which was absolutely nuts. But this is a talented football team, and they're playing at Lincoln Financial, defending home turf. It's a tough place to go play. You ask any divisional opponent, any team in the league, quite frankly, does not want to go into that environment there. It's tough on opposing players, opposing fans. You know, it's a created culture that is tough to go and try to be excited for. But once again, I just like the matchups here. I think Dak Prescott's going to see a tremendous amount of pressure. So is Jalen Hurts, but I know Jalen Hurts can handle the pressure a lot better than Dak can. Therefore, we're going to see some turnovers from Dallas unless they play it super conservative, which that is not a game that you want to play with Philly playing conservative.
The Eagles rank second currently in the NFL in scoring. So they definitely have an advantage, like you're saying there, Austin, in trying to hang with them scoring wise. It's going to be an interesting matchup. We'll see how it plays out. But again, this is a really fun game and a really great week. Let's jump into our next matchup now this week. And we got the Colts heading into Carolina. And look, the Panthers, they get into the win column. They finally have a 1 on the left side of their record. They're 1-6. It's been probably, kind of a rough year. Right now, they're in danger of potentially sending the first overall or second overall pick over to Chicago from their trade last draft. But listen, we knew this was going to be a rough season for them with Bryce Young. There's going to be ups and downs in it. And I'm glad to see them have gotten a win. The Colts right now, just with where they're at, lost 3 straight. Obviously, no Anthony Richardson. Definitely tough. This would have been a really great matchup if Richardson was healthy. I just went with the Colts. I feel like they're due for a win at this point. I don't trust the Panthers a lot. Austin, what's your kind of take on this one?
Yeah, despite them being on the road, I have a lot of confidence in Shane Steichen and this offense. They're going to run the football effectively against Carolina. That's going to set up Gardner Minshew and a couple of the deep shots, the big plays to a guy like Michael Pittman, who had a very, very nice week last week. I look at the Colts as a team that is, once again, a 500 level team, and they're going to take care of these specific games. Carolina's not going to win many games this year. I think they're just talent deficient across the board. They lack the big explosive plays. They lack the consistency on moving the chains, which is a product of, Bryce Young just being inexperienced and just not enough playmakers on this team to go make it happen. I just don't have a lot of confidence in the Panthers this week. I think that DeForest Buckner is going to be a huge thorn in their side.
As we transition into our next game, I want to urge you guys to make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more NFL content. And Austin, the New York Giants head into Vegas to take the Raiders, and someone's got to take a screenshot right now of the video and tweet at us or something. When's the last time we both picked the Raiders in a week? Has that ever happened in Pick'em history? I don't know. The Raiders at 3-5. It's hard to say that they've been anything close to good this season. They just have not been that good. They've only scored 126 points this year. But luckily for them, they're facing the Giants, who've only scored 95 points this year. And I think, Austin, you and I were expecting the Giants to look a little bit more like this last season. Of course, they had that miracle run, even won a playoff game. Brian Daboll had such a fantastic inaugural year as the Giants head coach. And year 2 has been a little bit of a regression to the mean season. Kind of what's your thoughts on this one? Who wins and why? And just ultimately, what are you feeling about these two franchises?
Yeah, I don't love where the Giants are. I think offensively they had the most putrid performance that we've seen all season. And you look at the Raiders here, a very disappointing loss against Detroit on prime time. They just struggled throughout. They could not contain Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't love either team, but I think when you look at the Raiders, I think they're slightly better than New York, and that's not saying a whole lot, to be completely honest. This is not one of those games where I feel uber confident in the Raiders, but I just don't like what the Giants have to offer. I think they're going to struggle in the passing game like they have all season. They're going to need to run the football effectively to even have a chance, and this is the team to try to do it against. So I guess if there's any form of silver lining, it's that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of a gross game. Outside of the one game in week 2 where the Giants ended up putting up 31 points with a huge second half comeback against Arizona. They have yet to score more than 16 points in any other game this season. And we're halfway through. So it's just, they're not a good football team. They're going to struggle. At 2-6, it's pretty miraculous that they even have that many wins, given how little they've scored the football. Raiders feel like a safe pick here, but again, it's Vegas, so who really knows? Let's jump into our next game. We see a matchup here on Sunday night, and boy, is this a good one. Now, remember, last year, Bills, Bengals, the whole Damar Hamlin thing played out. Obviously going to be an emotional game this week. Let's keep our thoughts and prayers with Damar Hamlin and just all of the players. You know, we've seen some tragedy. Prayers to Adam Johnson and his family as well. The hockey player, I'm sure you guys have seen the news. And it's an important reminder that all of these players are people too, and they've got a lot of stuff going on in their own personal lives, as well as, kind of stuff on the field. So just keep these players in your thoughts and prayers. I think this is a good time to, kind of bring a reminder of that, how, football's a sport. And at the end of the day, we got people here, playing and risking their lives in certain ways. But Austin, Bills, Bengals here now in this one. I'm going with the Bengals. I think at home it gives them an advantage, but the Bills are really hard to pick against. You and I, we haven't really wavered on them. I know that they've had ups and downs this season as well. They're only at 5-3 currently. The Bills are still a really good team. And I think for me, the reason I'm going with Cincinnati, they need this win a little bit more. Now, the Bills aren't in a great position. They still need to, move the needle a little bit more with some more W's. But for me, the Bengals here right now, they're tied essentially for last in the AFC North. A win here could propel them to potentially within a game of Baltimore for first. So there's a lot riding on this one. I think they go out and get the job done here. This is an iconic battle, Austin. Why are you going with the Bills here?
Yeah, kind of a shocker because I've had a lot of confidence in the Bengals the last 2 years of pick 'em, and this year has been kind of the exact opposite. Despite them having a very nice game against San Francisco and Joe Burrow looking terrific in that one, he was pinpoint and dialed in. I think the Buffalo Bills are actually going to make a statement game here, going on the road, defeating the Bengals in their home turf. I think Buffalo is due for a big game. I think Josh Allen is due for a massive game. I think this is going to be one of the best games he plays all season. Maybe I'm going to get clowned and screenshotted and screen recorded, put on Twitter for this, but I think he's going to have a great game. I think Cincinnati is a little cautionary for me heading into this week. A lot of people are high on it, but I'm not sure if I'm quite there yet. Maybe Joe Burrow will shut me up, and then I'm going to have to just, walk into pick 'em next week, and I'll be probably at a deficit considering how things have been going. But I think that Buffalo is due for a massive game. I like the matchups there. I think Stephon Diggs is going to put up 150 in this one.
Wow, that's a bold prediction there, Austin. I like that one. I'm riding with the hot hands here. Bengals have won 3 straight games. We'll see though. The NFL schedule makers did a great job in this one. Week 9, you're getting right into the meat and potatoes of the season. You want matchups like this on prime time, and we got a really great one this week, which leads us now into Monday Night Football. And well, this isn't quite as great of a matchup, but it's still a fun one. I think when these two teams get together, crazy stuff happens. Flashback to 2009, Vincent Jackson diving catch attempt, ball gets batted up into the air. Darrelle Revis catches it on the ground. Crazy stuff happens when the Chargers and Jets play, like 3 missed field goals in a playoff game. I'm just trying to irritate Chargers fans clearly here. I'm a Jets fan. I'm riding with my Jets. Someone take a screenshot. I never, ever do this typically. I think the Jets got it. The Jets are playing good football. Austin's going to bring that up later. I hate that I just said that, but 3-game win streak. They went from 1-3 and dead in the water to currently 4-3 with a real shot in the AFC East to make some noise and maybe, just maybe, make the playoffs for the first time in way too long. I've got to believe in them. I'm putting faith in this team. Austin, why are the Chargers going to crush my heart here this week?
Yeah, I'm actually rather shocked that you were the one that went with the Jets and not me. But I believe in Justin Herbert. I believe in this offense. I think they're going to figure it out. It's a real possibility that they can bait Zach Wilson into a turnover or 2, which could be the true difference in the game. Justin Herbert does a great job taking care of the football while pushing it down the field and creating those big explosive plays. I think that the Chargers are in a really good position here, despite them having to go on the road. Maybe this is one of those that the Jets really surprise us. They've done it before this year. But to me, I just like the Chargers better as a team. I believe in them at this point in the season more than I do the Jets, surprisingly. As much as I've been a homer for the Jets here, I'd like the Chargers for sure in this one.
Yeah, Zach Wilson at this point has only thrown 5 touchdowns. He also has 5 interceptions. His pass rating this year is 74.3. So there's not a lot to believe in there. Obviously, the Jets have kind of done a lot to work around that. Breece Hall's had some fantastic moments for them. The defense is incredible and as good as advertised, Austin. I know how high you were on them specifically as a defensive unit. I think, this is going to be a real challenge. This is going to be somewhat similar, not quite as bad as Jets Giants, but it's going to be somewhat similar. It's going to be a defensive minded game. Timely plays are going to make an impact in this one. So, Austin, like you're saying, turnovers are key here for this game. I'm hoping my Jets can get some. But the Chargers, they have some real talented players as well on both sides of the football. So I think this is going to be a great game, a really nice way to end week 9. And we really hope you guys did enjoy this week's video. It was a lot of fun recording. Remember, NFL trade deadline here, week 9. A lot of crazy stuff's about to happen. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports Plus video.